Hey, it's me. It's Nick Angel. Um, okay, I'm not going to try and over edit this thing. This is like the second video I've taken um, to help promote my art. And it's a weird space. It's something I've looked down upon for years, probably because of my own fear that I knew that it was going to start off being a little clunky and erratic and poorly done. But um, part of my whole reason why I'm making this video is to talk about that how it's okay that things are poorly done. But I think I need to step back a little bit and say that this video is for my collectors, it's for gallerists, it's for people in the industry who are on my mailing list. And I'm creating it because I want to create a channel to help communicate with the people who have an affinity for my art, are curious about my art, want to see more of it, maybe even people who'd like to buy more of it. Um, it's a thank you. It's an update on what I'm doing, shows coming up, and a little bit more context about the work. Um, so this first video, like I said, is going to be poorly done. But it comes from a good place. I had written all of this out, and I just felt that writing and editing kind of took away from the immediacy of me speaking to you, even though I can't be in front of all of you on a one-to-one basis. I wanted this to be something that was that you could hear me making the mistakes and being a little bit more personal. So about the art, let's shift gears about the art. I've been dealing a lot lately, internally and externally, seeing a lot of news, especially on channels like Instagram, where people post a lot of art. And it's not a new argument, but it's the subject of artificial intelligence. And the reference I want to make is historical, which, as many of you know, I love history. And this has happened before, uh, during the Industrial Revolution, when whole generations of people lost their jobs as craftspeople and artists because of the automation. Yeah, that's a word. Due to the machines that were being made that took away a lot of. Okay, we'll have to edit this somewhat. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is there was an emergence of a movement called the arts and crafts movement. And it was very much a rejection of the Industrial Revolution. Automation, that's the word, not automation. It was a rejection of automation. And it sought to go back to, again, probably a fantastic golden age. People were led by emotion and desire, fable. And I think we're in that phase again. I think we're going back to a place where people are hungry for rawness and sort of subterranean emotion, which is a big theme in my work. People are going to want to see mistakes like this video. They're going to want to see the human element made more pronounced. They're going to want to see the hand, the intent, again, the flaws, like where is this going? How is this unique to an individual, which you can't see on digital media? I've been posting on Instagram for, I guess, a couple of years now, and there's really no connection with people. You can see 10,000 images in a day easily, and it's rare that somebody's going to be moved by that kind of presentation. And I get that. I understand the need to be on there, but I also understand the lack of connection. So, this is supplanted by doing things like gallery shows where people can come up and get close to the work and see the scale of it. A lot of my work is really big, and that's very purposeful. I want people to be shocked. I want people to be stunned, maybe a little off put or a lot off put. And so I know I can't get everybody to every show I have. So this, again, I'm belaboring the point, but I don't have a script. So bear with me. This is all about creating something that's a little bit more connected. So part two, cut. What is the art about? If you've read my artist statement, or you've seen any of the work, or you've followed me on Instagram for a long period of time, you understand that there's a basic theme. Is this the way I think? No. I don't have a style. I never have. I've been a graphic designer for 30 years, and by training, and I was taught not to have a style. And it's detrimental to your career as a graphic designer if you have a style. As a matter of fact, it's dangerous if you do start acquiring one, because then people start coming to you for that specific style. And when that style goes out of taste and trend, then you're no longer needed. So I have forced myself to learn how to do many, many different styles. So it became really difficult when I realized that in the art world, people want to see a specific look, a specific type of output. And although I knew I couldn't adopt a style, I knew that if I created a subject matter, or even the way I kind of posed to myself early on was make some kind of a fictitious client, and have that client say, well, here's your mandatories, here's how it needs to look, here's the materials you need to do it on. And that I understand, unfortunately, after being a commercial artist for so long. So that's what I did about, it's been almost 4 or 5 years now that I've been doing this. And what I did is I went back to my roots as somebody who has found a lot of freedom in things like role-playing games and comics and fantasy art and mythology. Those were my sources. That's my root, and that's what gave me the most inspiration. So I went back into that deepest well where I found my early inspiration. And what I did is I basically, for those of you who understand role playing and Dungeons and Dragons specifically, I started creating a world. And how I came about that world is another story. But suffice it to say that I generated an entire culture, an era, in order that I could keep producing work easily without going up to tabula rasa, that's just a white page, and starting from scratch every time. I created a theme, I created a narrative that I could always jump back into and understand what needed to be done next. As a matter of fact, there's so much that needs to be made because this client is very demanding. Again, another story. But the theme is about a religious sect, a cult that existed in pre-dynastic and early dynastic Egypt. And they were exiled for their beliefs, which were pretty radical. Radical in that they didn't believe in like the sun god and the fact that the pharaoh was a god. And they didn't necessarily even believe in the afterlife. And a lot of other things, which I won't go too deeply into, but this cult and its practitioners and its priests and priestesses were exiled into the Western Desert, which traditionally in ancient Egypt was considered the land of the dead, as well as the land of the god Seth. And so Seth, as the god that represented death and chaos and exile, that became like my first icon. That was the first piece, one of the first pieces that was done. And I reimagined what their mythos and what their pantheon of gods might be if Seth was the first and primary deity. And so in that process, I realized that there were gaps in the human psyche that I found that weren't represented by what had been the original gods, right? What you might call the Heliopolitan gods. And so I started creating gods that didn't even exist in the Egyptian pantheon. And that's where a lot of the fun really started. There's always been this personification of abstract ideas by putting the head of an animal that represents a certain aspect of life or consciousness or myth and putting it onto the body of a human. So it kind of incarnates these abstract ideas. So that was an easy platform to start creating more embodied abstractions. So there are a set of 3 or 4 new gods, which I have been presenting at galleries. And as they are new, they do take on their own personalities, and they say, "Hey, this is gonna sound really corny," but they're like, "People don't know about us. You need to tell people about us." And it's a little creepy. It's creepy to feel. It's creepy to talk about. So anyway, this video has already gone on longer than I intended. I could go on and on and on, and I hope to be creating a series of these videos to go more into depth into specific topics. So that will lead me to my third piece, which is kind of like housekeeping, to tell you that on March the 19th, 20th, and 21st, I am going to be at the Super Fair in San Francisco at the Fort Mason, the base, the center. I mean, the pavilion where they have all the art. It's easy enough to find if you just look for Super Fair San Francisco. I will be there. I don't know my booth number. I probably won't be hard to find. But if any of you are in the area or can make the trek, I would love to see you and tell you more. Love to answer your questions and really start creating a community. I really want to share all of this with you, and I wanted you all to share, how you feel and what you'd like to see. So yeah, that's the end of the first video, and no cuts, no edits, no script. And I hope to see you soon, and feel free to email me with any questions, any inquiries. And yeah, we'll talk soon.